Welcome to the Stretch to Go podcast. My name is Ian Ray, your host, and today I have Andrew Escudero from Honolulu, Hawaii, my home state, based out there. And he is a Fascia Stretch Therapist, FMT practitioner, also does cupping and IASTM, live stretch instructor, and of course, he has this cool thing called a microcurrent pen, which I'm going to dive into. So welcome, Andrew, to the Stretch to Go podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so I know I would turn on my pigeon accent, but I don't think people are going to understand us, so we're going to keep it.
Yeah, do it a little bit so people can
I know.
can see what it's like.
I know, yeah. For sure. That's something I kind of lost being out here in Baltimore, Maryland. My pigeon accent's kind of lost in the wayside, so it's great to talk to some people from Hawaii back home so I can turn on my pigeon accent. So. Andrew, tell me how you got to Honolulu and what are you doing currently right now over there?
So
give me.
I originally, I was born in New Jersey, moved to Miami when I was a kid, and then moved to Hawaii about 21 years ago. With me, I didn't go that traditional. I mean, I want to say traditional, but I wasn't like a lot of people where you went to physical therapy school, or a massage therapist, chiro. My journey actually began in IT. Yeah, so way back then when the whole computer industry was blowing up, it was always, oh, computers. And I was like, I like computers. And what got me into that more so was one of my friends. He was a computer hacker. Not that I was one, but he was one. And just all the cool stuff that he did, I was like, okay, I'll follow that route. But in the back of my mind, I was always like, I like helping people. I like helping people. So I would say roughly 10 years ago was when I was like, okay, what? Little by little, I'm going to start transitioning over to this stuff. So that's how, my journey kind of like into FST began.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So I guess my follow-up question is like, what kind of got you from IT to like this health, fitness, wellness area? Like what intrigued you to go in that route?
So the way that I got into it was, I was doing like I've been practicing jujitsu for going on 11 years. And when I first started, and it's very common, when people first start in jujitsu, like it always hurt. And I used to, when I first started off, I was at the UFC gym, and my left shoulder, I remember it inside my scapula was just like this burning pain. And it just so happened that every time I would walk by to class, I would see someone off on the side getting stretched. And I was like, that looks good. One day I'll make it there. One day I'll make it there. And I'll just go to class, get beat up. As I'm walking out the gym, I'm looking at people getting stretched, and I'm like, if I didn't have to go home, I'd just probably stop by. So one day, I could not take it anymore. And luckily, one of the black belt instructors over there, she does, she was doing FST, and I was like, can I get stretched by you? And she was like, you got to book an appointment. I was like, damn it, you can't hook me up. She was, no, you got to book an appointment. I was like, all right. So yeah, so I booked my appointment, and I got stretched, and she was like, okay, well, I mean, besides your shoulder, you are stiff as a board. And I was like, yeah, that's always been me. So she's like, you need more sessions. I was like, okay, how much are they? And she gave me the price. I said, no. So she goes, you know what? My husband my husband does it also. He has his own practice, and he's not as expensive as the gym. I'm like, all right. So she gave me his number, and I started going to him. As I'm getting worked on, he's teaching me. And I was like, oh, and that's when like my interest into FST. And I think what really got me was after our first session, I'm on the table and he's working on my legs, and all like at the end of the session, when he's adducting my leg just opened all the way up. I was like, my leg has never done that. I'm sold. And so he was like, okay, so he's like, so you like this? I was like, oh yeah. So I told him, I was like, I've always, been interested in stuff like this. So
Hmm.
he's like, I teach classes every now and then, teaching people how to fix themselves. I was like, sign me up. So, little by little, he would teach us, just basic things. I mean, not necessarily FST, but just, things in general. And after a while, I was like, I want to do what you do. He's like,
Hmm.
what do you mean? I was like, I want to learn to stretch. He's like, you sure? I'm like, yep. He said, if you get into this, it's gonna be a big commitment. And I'm like, why do you sound like my dad right now? I was like, you know what? I'm in. Just give me the information. I'm going. And that's how it started. In 2019, I ended up, booking you know, my flight, and I've never looked back since.
Dang, all because of getting on the table. All
All
because
because of getting, yeah, that's it.
that's a whole trajectory of different type of work. Obviously, I mean, never would have thought IT to this.
Yeah, yeah. For me, it was a big transition.
Were you always? I mean, obviously, type of body work, manual therapy. I mean, those kind of things. I mean, you have to get choke repetitions, to
Yeah.
fine tune and to get good at it. Because even myself doing this FSD month 7, I mean, I'm confident, but I mean, not level 3, level 4 confident. Because obviously I don't have the skill and knowledge yet. So I'm still
Yeah.
learning.
Yeah. So I think with me, it was honestly a lot of it has been the jujitsu training. And I
Okay.
tell a lot of people that because during jujitsu, we're taking people's motion down to the end range. So like let's say like if we're gonna do an arm bar, like you're not gonna take the person arm past, a certain degree of extension to your rib or muscle or something. So we build the feel already. So, when
Mm,
it comes to FST, it's the same thing. It's like, you already feel where the person's end range is, and then you can play around with those areas. So, I mean, that's been like from when I first started, that was like the biggest help for me.
yeah. Because you've already been practicing the art of jujitsu, and like I say, knowing that, and that kind of correlates with, like I said, feeling tissue moving through different planes of the fascia line. So
Yeah.
makes sense, makes sense. So the people that are they still currently doing stretch to FSD? The people that you found through.
Um, they've actually moved on to other things, but I know they mix in FST every now and then.
Okay. Did you have any when you went to the course, enroll into it? Did you have any initial thoughts, hesitancy enrolling in it?
Yeah, yeah. Like when I went in, I was like, "Holy crap! I am way out of my league over here." Because there was occupational therapists, physical therapists, yoga instructors, people that had worked with like Olympic athletes, and like I think that's when like imposter syndrome hit me like real hard. I was like, damn, it's like to ask for a refund, but so like when you're doing your like early in the morning first day you're doing your early introduction, you're like, oh, I'm Andrew and I do all of this.
Yeah.
I mentioned to Anne and Chris that I was referred to by the guy that had gotten me into this, and their eyes just lit up. They're like, you were with him? Oh, okay. Oh, so we know you're gonna be good. I was like, but yeah, I mean, I have not had any complaints since. So I'm very happy that you know my path has led me this route.
Yeah. That's crazy. I guess when your dad or your parents or even your family, when they found out you were doing this, what were their initial reactions?
No, they're my parents have always been supportive, everything that I've done. So they're like, what? You're gonna stretch? That means we're gonna get stretched for free, right? And I was like, that's what everyone wants. I'm like, yeah, sure. Yeah,
Uh,
everyone wants the family discount, right?
yeah, of course. Okay, so for you, over there, you currently work with a certain type of demographic or population typically, or you work with anyone and everyone?
Generally, well, my demographic is normally anyone, 30 years of age or older. At that age, people really start to feel age tick in. And it's like, everyone comes, for pretty much the same struggle. I sit in an office for too many hours, my shoulders hurt, I'm rounding, my posture's all off. What can you do? So, normally, first session is, always an assessment. I need to
Hmm.
feel what your body, you know, is telling me. And it gives them an opportunity to get to trust me as a therapist or as a specialist. Um, and a lot of times, at least for me, when people don't know, there's a lot of hesitation, in that initial session. It's a two job thing for me where it's like you need to, I need you to wind down and trust the process during this first session. I'm learning what your body can do. So yeah, a lot of times yeah, my demographics is usually, 30s to, 10 above, and then every now and then, I'll get the younger crowd, high school athletes, college athletes, and even younger.
Have you doing this for 6+ years? Do you have any like wins or some success stories that you have of how fascia stretch therapy has helped people?
Yeah, I would say one of my very first clients, it was an elderly man, and this was when I was mobile. He must have been late 70s, early 80s. The man was just stiff, stiff. So, I was level one at the time, level one, about to go for my
Okay.
level two. So, just doing all the basic stuff, working on him.
Hmm.
And he's just on the bed like, yeah. When the session is done, I was like, all right, get up, check your body out, be careful. He was okay. And he's getting off the table and he drops. Of it. I jumped him like midway down and I picked him up and I was like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, my hips have never felt this good. I was like, are you okay? He goes, I can move. I was like, "So you're good." He goes, "Eh." Yeah. So after that, he had me going to him, I would say for about 2 years, like every weekend going to him.
Wow.
And after that, his posture totally corrected. He still had some issues because he had osteoarthritis on one hip. Because of all the work that we had done, it helped him move better. He was
Mm.
able to walk better. He was able to walk longer distances. So by the time we were done, he was like, Andrew, I used to take X amount of painkillers and opiates. And ever since I started working with you, I haven't had to take any of that. I can walk like long distances, and I've lost like 40 pounds and I need new pants. I was like, okay, I'm glad.
Oh, that's nuts.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Especially like that kind of demographic where, the older population, I know how it's either they get heavy legs or like I said, stiff as a board, And
Yeah.
so me having gone through this only 7 months, I know like, yeah, they need it a lot too, for sure, because
Yeah.
you lose that mobility, flexibility. So, and they're either sedentary or not as active anymore. So I can see how that FST can help them regain that mobility back into their life.
Hmm.
Yeah. Imagine if all these falls that people get injured or die from, especially the aging population. Imagine if we
Yes.
could restore that. probably so much people not in hospice or like home healthcare because
Exactly.
we've restored that function back into their life, which is
Yep.
kind of ironic because I was talking to a client of mine saying like how, it's the basic movements of crawling, sitting, squatting as you're learning as a child, knowing how we have seen kids grow up. It takes them a while to learn, but once they get it down pat.
Yep.
But once we age, those basic things, sitting, squatting, standing, bending down, they lose it. And
Yeah.
those are the most important things that they need to do for active daily living things.
Exactly.
So it's interesting how that kind of deteriorates. But if we were to keep that throughout the whole lifespan, man, there'll be so much people who are, like I said, are not on painkillers or
Yeah.
on injections and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
And this is not coming from medical. It's just like, yeah, it's not like we're, coming from non-medical background. It's just like common sense things like people should be doing, but no, it's an afterthought. So it's cool how fascia stretch therapy can, sure, this is just one of the many modalities, I'm sure, but how we've seen it, especially as practitioners, like this things, it can work so quickly, or even for longevity. But I'm interested to hear with the type of people that you work with, especially back home in Hawaii, fascia, is that a known thing? You think back home, like fascia, like are people talking about that back there? Back there.
You know what? It's funny because there's a ton of people that do FST over here, but every time I get a client, they're like, I've never heard of this. And I was like, are you serious? And they're like, yeah, this is like, I just looked up something to help me stretch and then, you pop up and, and then, they start reading on fashion and like, or every now and then, like once in a great while, I'll have someone jump in or come in and they're like, oh yeah, I've had some fascia work done, but not FST. And so it's like, but I think in general, not a lot of people know about fascia and then FST, which is pretty mind blowing.
So I guess for you, how are you trying to make it more of an awareness or like to bring FST and fascia awareness, like to the general public there? Because Hawaii, we're a tight knit community where once you know someone, they tell someone else. I mean, it really is. It can go wildfire really quickly. What are you doing currently to make that, FST more of a well-known thing in Honolulu area?
I try to do events, like health and wellness events. This past weekend, we had the Great Aloha Run. And this was probably the first year that I didn't do their expo.
Okay.
But normally, I will do their expo and, I set my table at my booth and it's like, um, you know, get the demo on and, and the people, and it's been like that for the past few years where I'll just jump in, sign up for all these different expos, get people to see what FAST is all about, what FXT is all about. I would say 90% of the people that I've gotten my hands on, they're like, they've never experienced it. So it's like, oh, this is so good. We're gonna book a session. I was like, whenever you're ready. But yeah, I'm like, oh, I don't tell my auntie and my uncle. Like, okay, go.
But has that ever come back?
It has. I would say 30% of the time when people say that they're gonna book, they do end up. But I mean, more often than not, people just tend to forget.
Yeah. So for you, when you have to explain to people what fascia is in this fascia stretch therapy, how do you explain to someone, especially if they never heard about it?
So I usually explain like the same way that a lot of people, tend to explain, with the chicken and the chicken skin, you see all that extra stuff, coming off the skin. That's your fascia. But then I also every now and then if there's still like for people that don't eat meat or chicken, then it's like, okay, imagine yourself wearing a big old bodysuit and it's I want to say like a spider web, kind of like a spider web where it's like it's all strings and attached to all those attachments and all that whole spider web all over your body. It's more collagen based, and it moves along. So it's like if there's like some some part in your bodysuit that's tight, it's gonna start affecting all these other areas of your body, and then you just start seeing the gears starting to turn, and like, oh, I get it. It's like, yeah, like that's what that is. And it's like it's all the way, like head to toe, like pretty much down to the cellular level where it's like, it's our whole body. And they're like, oh, okay. Then they start asking like different things like, you know,
How about for you? I know you have this thing called as you were talking about it, that microcurrent. I'm kind of switching gears, but like, what is it? How did you get started using this as a service? And what are you using it to treat people?
so microcurrent point stimulation pens, it's like two electric pens that you use. They were kind of made to mimic our body's electrical impulses or our piezoelectricity.
Mhm.
The pens work at our heart's voltage. So whenever the pen makes contact with the skin, it's already an electrical current that the body's used to. It's used to, I mean, you can use it to release the fascial lines, which is amazing. It works on acupuncture points. So like if you study a little bit of acupuncture, you can kind of get it. So like let's say there's a point like by your ankle and then on your wrist, and it depends on those 2 points. It'll help release your superficial back line, or you can help release your spiral line or your deep front. That one, along with FST, has like it's been a total game changer for me because I can also like for the people that are like super wound up and nervous and just can't relax. I can do vagal point stimulation with the tongues as I'm as I'm stretching them, and like within 15 minutes they're just like long and long. They're in zen
Is
mode
that
already.
typically when you're using the pen? Are you typically like working on like a certain part of the neck, whether extremity, upper, lower, or like a neck? How are you using it while you're stretching them, or do you just use it to prime their bodies
I
to
use it
bring
to
it
prime their bodies. I also will use it afterwards. So like
down?
if like every now and then, because you're not always gonna get a full release after 1 second. Like it'll always be like a complimentary thing where it's like, okay, there's still a little thickness on the back. So you hit a few points like on both sides of the spine to get the electricity will start sending the message out to through the nerve roots. It's like, all right, we're down regulating everything, from here on out. And it has helped complement my FST practice because I see that people are walking around with less pain for a longer period of time. So it extends. It's like a little shot of steroid for your FST cells. It's awesome. And then with those pens, I've also started doing scar relief therapy and also keep doing auricular therapy.
How'd you hear about this microcurrent pen and like scar tissue like pen? Like how did that come about? Like were you introduced to it, or did you just
I,
happen to just find about?
I was introduced to it. I want to say 5 years, 6 years ago. Same guy that
So
was
same time. Okay.
the same
So
guy
same
that
time during
was.
when you're sorry.
Yep. Good.
So same time during that you found FST, the same guy, right? That one introduced you
Yeah.
to FST.
Well,
He
the FST guy was before that. I found FST through him and everything. And then after I got certified, um, during one of the classes that he was doing, he was like, "Oh yeah, I stumbled upon these pens and I bought them just to play around with it." And I was like, "You're onto something, my man. Like I'm gonna copy you." And yeah, I mean, that. And it was mostly because I saw what he did. Because there was this one of the persons that was at his gym, he at his studio, he had this long scar running around and running down his forearm. So I think, like he did a few minutes, working on showing us like what he did with it, and like you can instantly see like the scar lighten up. So we're like, huh. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep that one in the back of my mind. So once I'm done with my whole like with my FSC certifications, I'm gonna circle back. And that's kind of like what I've done. Like it's complemented my FSC.
Yeah. So results wise for your clients, they felt it
Oh yeah,
more of a, like I said, lasting about.
yeah, yeah.
What does it feel like? Have you ever done it on yourself? Obviously.
You don't,
Yeah.
you really don't feel anything.
Mm.
And it all depends on just how the settings are. A lot of times
Okay.
on like on some points, if it's not getting enough like energy through you, like you'll feel the electric current coming through it, like, and it feels like pins and needles. But more often than not, you really won't feel anything. You won't feel anything, and
Much less invasive than an acupuncture with choke
yeah,
needles on top of it.
yeah.
Cool. I'll look that up. Uh, for you, okay, as far as your business, I know we kind of talked about what strategies, marketing have been most beneficial for you since you've been doing this 6 years. I mean, you've been doing FSD 6 years, knowing how, you know, we don't have probably like, I mean, you just tell me like what's worked for you at dynamic stretch therapy and growing it from the time that you started till now. Like what do you think works best in Hawaii compared to like, other places?
In Hawaii, like, well, because just how you said that, it's a tight knit community over here. So with me,
Mhm.
the vast majority of my clients have come through word of mouth. Um, you know, I I've tried social media marketing, I tried running ads, and I do events also. But more often than not, it's the word of mouth, and just not being scared to get out there. Like, you gotta show yourself to the public, so they know who you are, and create some type of brand awareness.
So what were you doing before? You said that you were doing mobile service prior to doing what you're doing. Are you still doing mobile too? Or
Nah. So mobile was mostly when I first started out, it was like just, to try and get clients and then to try and let them know who I was. But once, I started, building my foundation, it really didn't give me a chance to go out and travel much. But I do make exceptions, if if I have someone contact me and say, hey, we want to have a stretch party, you know, well, can you come for X amount of hours? I'm like, yeah, sure.
okay. So how do you do that with the stretch parties? Because I've heard about people wanting to do it. Do you just kind of give them like, this is my set amount of how much it costs for me per hour, and this is how many people I can stretch because it's
That's
only going to be
exactly how it. That's exactly how I've done it, and it's mostly been friends and friends of friends that have asked for it. Where
okay.
it's like, okay, they're like, oh yeah, we just want to hang out and have drinks, whatever. Can you come? And I'm like, all right, but you can't be drinking too much.
And for you, I guess what are some long-term goals that you have for dynamic stretch therapy?
Long-term goals for dynamic shift therapy, sorry, it would be first of all to open up my brick and mortar. Open up my brick and mortar and let you know have people see what I'm all about. You know, eventually, just try and expand, but not too much. Just something where I can handle it and just be able to help as many people as possible.
Do you feel right now, from the time that you've started till current, I guess what's been working well for you for the growth of it? Is it just trying these different couple of things like, events or referrals through, I don't know, chiropractic or PT? Like what's been the best thing for you for your growth of your business?
Referrals.
Referral. Do you work with like chiros and like PTs or like the doctors to say, hey, this is what I do? If you happen to know anyone, refer me, or how does that work for you?
It's funny because I have reached out to chiros and physical therapists out here, and I don't know if it's I reached out to the wrong people, but they they never get back to me, or I'll go to their places, to their office and be like, hey, this is what I do. I think, FSC will greatly complement you know, your practice.
Mm.
And a lot of times they're a bit standoffish, and it's like, I'll get back to you. Oh, I was like, all right. I was like, well, I look forward to hearing from you. I wish you the best. Whatever. You always got to keep a positive attitude too. You can't, you're like they say, there will be a lot of ups and downs in this journey.
Mhm.
Even through all all through all those downs, you're always going to find something eventually to work with.
How about how do you see fascia stretch therapy evolving in the future?
Man, I think we're we're almost there. We're certifying so many people. All of us are just bringing more and more of an exposure to what stretch to win and FST is all about. So now you know we're pretty much going worldwide. I think we're almost there where it's everyone's gonna be like, oh, they're gonna know that we are the ones, we are the chosen ones.
The gold standard in stretch therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for me, so like out here in the East Coast, like I know there's Stretch Lab, Stretch Zone probably over there too, but like even like these small boutique places that people have started stretch therapy, they add stretch something stretch therapy. I look at it because that was me 7 months ago. I was looking for someone to teach me this type of stretch therapy. I just was keen to the type of that they were doing because A, they didn't have longevity in the game. They were just brand new out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Or B, they didn't have credibility to their name behind, what they're doing. So when I found Stretch to Win through Instagram, actually, I saw there were people doing it, and it was a common thing because they had the straps on, said Stretch to Win. So I was like, oh, look it in. So boom, found out. Plus, they've been written books. They've written, they've helped so much like Olympic athlete, professional athlete.
Yeah.
They have a course. They work with NASM. I mean, to me, that's who I want to go follow. That's who I want to learn from because they're the best of the best. They've done it. This is their passion, and so I was really stoked when I enrolled and found out like, yeah, this is people who are not opening up a boutique shop to do FST. This is people who know their stuff, can teach you, and like I said, there's thousands of people, thousands of practitioners all over the world. I mean, in Europe, in Asia, like doing this, which is insane.
It is.
So, man, it is a great time to be alive to know that. Hopefully, because with the research that Chris and Anne have done, and then of course with the expansion of like in Australia, obviously, yeah, with the Stretch to Win course.
Yeah.
There's bound to people will find the proof is in the pudding. What we're doing. It's unlike any other. And I like to probably give a shout out to Stretch Win because Stretch Zone, Stretch Lab, granted they do that. I've stolen some clients that people have gone there because they weren't excited. They weren't excited. They didn't get the results. They were injured. They didn't like how the billing works, blah, blah, blah. But I've stolen people from them. It's because it's just they're not working with the fascia lines. They aren't certifying people. They're just taking them to the course, but they're not teaching them how to do it. They probably don't get the same amount of work that we do. And it's just crazy that just in a week's course, how you can like I myself, no background, in manual work, and you can do that. Like it's just so crazy to think that, yeah, I went to school, but this is something that I can do now. And it brings me personally, I guess, more of a work that I know, like I can help people, like you're saying, like yourself, and you can see that impact right away.
Yeah.
So, but I'm
Yeah,
excited for you because along with other people with, level 3, like you guys have that knowledge and experience already, obviously with how Stretch to Win has grown over the years. Yeah, kudos to you.
Thank you.
I'd love to close up, kind of give people the opportunity to learn more about what you're doing, how they can book a session with you. So if you don't mind, share with the audience how people reach out to you. So if you have a social media handle, an email, website, or even a way to basically book a session to get, to go over, please feel free to share it.
So social media, Instagram, Dynamic Stretch Therapy. My email is dynamicstretchtherapy@gmail.com. My website is dyntherapy.com. You can just book my session through the services tab. That's pretty much it.
Cool. Yeah, but Garen's, what you call it? Thank you. So, yes, for those of you listening to the Stretch to Go podcast, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. We release new episodes every Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern. And also, those of you who want to learn how to become a practitioner like Andrew and myself, you have to go to stretchtowin.com. Chris and Ann and Frederick have been doing this for 30 years plus. You can find a practitioner near you. You can become a practitioner. You can just learn what the heck Stretch to Win is and why we're so passionate. So go ahead and do that. But Andrew, thank you for having you on this podcast, especially out there in Hawaii. Hopefully people back home can learn more and reach out to Andrew because, like I said, I know for a fact that people back home, they love taking care of their bodies through lomi lomi massage or other ways. But I think FST can be such a game changer because there are places that do massage and relaxation things over there. But FST, it'll help so much people, I think.
Yeah.
That they just don't know. They haven't been on the table. So looking forward to, man, having your business grow in the near future.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the time, and thank you for reaching out to me. And also, if you ever back down this side, just come visit.
For sure, I will. I'll reach out to you because I have family over there. So yes, sir. All right, bro. Thank you so much for hopping on. Thanks, everyone. Sure. Aloha.
Bye.